This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Watch Jay Kelly December 5th, only on Netflix.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the five of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How Are the Podcast, and you join us the morning after the day before where we reflect on a first for Sunderland as the lads came back from a 2-goal deficit in the Premier League to win a game for the very first time. It was a monumental effort in monsoon-style conditions, which did mean it was a perfect chance for a good old-fashioned slide and tackle. And the players took full advantage of that, which I even think caught the referee by surprise. But yes, Sunderland came back from being 2 down after just 15 minutes to beat an impressive Bournemouth side 3-2 to move back into a Champions League spot. Well, at least until the Sunday afternoon fixtures are done and dusted. So we've got a lot to get through. And if you wanted a sign of how much incident there was in this game, it's the first time I've gone beyond 2 pages of A4 in my match notes. So being the geek that I am, I got a little giddy when I turned to that 3rd page, scribbling away for the game. But anyway, enough of my nerdy excitement. I have 2 gentlemen waiting in the wings to provide their expert view on the proceedings. And first up is the man who you heard drying off in the pub not long after the final whistle, which is, of course, Gavin Henderson. Hello, Gav.
Hello, mate. Yes, I am here in body and mind, but I'm here. Yeah. Voice is gone. Shins are absolutely ruined. Back of my leg is cut to pieces off the Brobby goal, and as you can probably hear in my voice, I'm very croaky and tired. But I couldn't miss an opportunity to talk about this again.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to say which way I mean this question, but have you dried out yet?
No. It was awful. Like you can take it when Sunderland do what, and we're going to get into it. When Sunderland do what they've done, you're not bothered. I'd get drenched through to the skin every day of the week if Sunderland did that again. But when you get beat 4 or 5-0, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can take it when you win. I remember walking back after we beat Newcastle, watching it at the Stadium of Light when the rain was coming down, and there was people walking back up Newcastle Road, and there was people
at the beam back.
Yeah. That's it. And there was people lined up at their doorways, like kind of really elderly women at their doors, getting soaking wet, just go and get in. So you just don't mind, do you, when the result's the right way?
Do you know my abiding memory of that game? My dad pulling his ticket out of his pocket, and it was just mush. It was just stuck to his hand like it was plastered on, you know.
Yeah. You can take any weather when we get 3 points, but of course, we love to have someone with us on a Sunday who can provide us with expert analysis, and today is no different because we have the brilliant Jeff Brown with us. Hello, Jeff.
That's very kind indeed, Chris. Yes, yeah. It was quite a game, wasn't it? I must admit, this being a bit of an old traditionalist, all I talk about, first time in the Premier League. I think, football existed beyond the Premier League. So I did try to rack my brains for the last time we come from 2 down in the old First Division, but I couldn't. Nearest I could come was the West Brom game. Do you remember that one in 98, 99, the championship season? 2-0 down to 2 Lee Hughes goals where he did that horrible dance by the corner flag. Yeah. And then second half, I think it was Andy Melville and then Mickey Bridges and then Bawley right at the end. And my abiding memory of that one is that my mates had said, they'd come down the pub, said, nah, it's Sunday afternoon, I'm just going to watch it on the telly. And at half time, I was thinking, oh, I'm glad I didn't go down the pub. And at the end of the game, I'm thinking, why am I not there? Why am I not there with my mates watching this?
Well, wasn't that the second year in a row when we played them over Easter weekend? Because I was at both of them. Because we drew. Because the one before that, the year before that, the playoff season was the weekend where we drew against QPR on the Friday, and then we drew at West Brom on the Monday.
Mickey Gray gets sent off in that one.
Yes, I think so. And because Mike Sheeran did his thing for QPR on the Friday, and then I'm sure Dennis Smith was in charge of West Brom as well.
Right.
But I might be wrong with that one. But yeah, I mean, let's just quickly on that, Jeff, on that stat. I mean, look, I completely agree with you in that football apparently began in 1992 or whatever it was, 93. But actually, did it surprise you when you heard that stat? Because I was thinking, surely not. I mean, surely we've come behind from 2 down, but doesn't seem like we are.
No, I mean, when you think of the Premier League, I mean, they've only really been two and a bit. The Steve Bruce 10th place finish. There's only been 2 really decent Premier League seasons for the club in those 30 odd years. So yeah, it was no great surprise that this team is breaking records. And I think another stat yesterday was they've already got more points at home this season than they did in the whole of the last Premier League season. So we shouldn't be surprised that this team keeps setting new records. It's amazing, really is.
Yeah, and there was another one. I think that are we only 3 points off the side who finished in the 3rd relegation spot last season or something like that as well. So if it was last season, we'd almost be safe already. But there you go. But let's get into this game because, like I said, we've got loads of incident to get through. But I wanted to start off with you, Gav, just on the team selection because we were and ahhing quite a lot during the week whether he'd go back to a back 4 and who might be dropped if he did. And it's funny because you've been saying it for quite a few weeks, but you've been saying it behind gritted teeth almost, like you don't really want to say it out loud. But Trey Hume was the one to drop out. And as much as you kind of don't want that to happen, you've been saying that you think the manager's best back 4 might not include Trey Hume.
Yeah. When me and Martin were talking on the day of the game as well, we were saying at some point he's got to do this. And I was saying that I don't think he will. I think there'll be a point where he just doesn't do it, even though on paper, Nordy, Ballard, Alderete and Ronaldo looks like the most natural and most obvious defence that we pick. So I was a little bit surprised when I saw the team sheet, but I wasn't disappointed. Alderete for me is so good, and the thing that separates him from everybody else is he's left-footed. Martin was talking about this and saying the balance that he provides, being a left-footer, being a player who can carry it out from the back and give us something a little bit different is really, really crucial. And I think that's why he started, to be honest, because really, if you're looking at it, I know Hume wasn't great against Fulham, but he's still played really, really well this season. Geertruida hasn't really done anything wrong, really. You know, you could nitpick really and say, well, he could have done this better and could have done that better, but you know, he didn't really deserve to be dropped. But for the greater good of the team, Regis Labrise went with what he went with, and yeah, I think it was the most obvious selection, and I'm really interested now, Chris, and not to go too far ahead, but I'm really, really interested to see if we stick with this back 4 because we've got 2 tough games coming up this week, and it just makes you wonder: are we gonna keep this going? But I think longer term that is our best defence, and I'm glad we saw it.
Yeah, and I am going to try and get you to do as much talking as possible, Gav, just to see. I might start a sweep in the chat just to see which minute your voice gives way.
Blame Brian Broby. It's his fault.
but Jeff, just in terms of this kind of going back between 4 at the back, 5 at the back, I mean, it seems like on paper just a good thing that we've got this flexibility that we can go between the formations. But do you think in one sense as well that he's made a rod for his own back in a sense where everyone's questioning what he's going to go to? And then if it goes wrong, it's like, oh, well, he should have done the other one.
Yeah, I think there were a few people at half time who were saying, "Oh, look how open the defence is! You know, they're going back to form. They're struggling to come to terms with it." And you know, fair play to Bournemouth. They were certainly in the first half. They looked one of the more skillful, you know, teams that will come up against this season. The passing and movement was excellent, albeit that it was a couple of mistakes that led to the goals. But it's a bit like Dan. You know, we're talking about Alderete, a bit like Ballard earlier in the season. You know, when he was injured, then he's on the bench and you're thinking, he's got to bring him back. He's got to come back at some stage. And Alderete, the last couple of weeks, is it going to be this week? No, but I think ultimately every fan, while feeling the disappointment for Trey Hume, I think all the fans feel it for every player who got the club up last season and hasn't had the opportunity this season. So when you've got Hume in there, you think, oh, there's another one still in there. So you do feel for him. But I think Gav was right. This on paper, that looks the most solid back four they've got. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him change it again for Liverpool on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, just getting straight into the game. I mean, it was one of those games, Gav, where you just almost, especially someone from afar, felt that the conditions basically dictated the game because both sides came out and just went 100 miles an hour, hell for leather. They both went toe to toe. It was almost like a game of basketball straight from the off. I mean, you were there, Gav. I mean, did it have that kind of feel about it? When the whistle went for kickoff, did it almost have that feel that you thought wet surface, chucking it down, it's cold, the players are just going to be basically just sprinting around the pitch, if only to stay warm?
It's one of them where it's like, who's up for it today, isn't it? And I felt like, and I said this on the reaction pod, I genuinely think Bournemouth didn't fancy it in that second half. I think it was just a little bit too cold, a little bit too windy. They didn't want it as much as we did. And hey, look, that you've got to play it to the conditions, haven't you? We were absolutely fantastic. But when you looked at the rain, I'm in the southwest corner, and I'm at the back of the southwest corner, and the rain was still hitting us. It was one of them. It was one of them where the wind is pulling the rain into the crowd, and you're still getting wet. And when you're looking at the rain pouring down, and you're thinking, "Oh, you've got to really be up for this to enjoy those conditions." And genuinely, I don't think some of them Bournemouth players did. I think it was I think they might have give off the appearance that they did, but as the game went on and the rain was getting a little bit heavier and it was getting a little bit more hectic for them, they were maybe stood there going, "Oh, this is crap, isn't it?" And whereas the Sunderland players seemed to love it, and you couldn't say the same last week against Fulham. I know when we done the pod last Sunday with Tom White, I asked Tom and I said at Fulham, did you think the weather played a part in the game? Because for both teams it was pretty crap. And he was like, "Oh no, I was there and I didn't come." To be honest, I can't really say I noticed it. But I genuinely think it played its part in this game, and the Sunderland players reacted a lot better than the Bournemouth ones did.
And if there was any advantage to being in League One, it's that people who were sitting in the first few rows could move back to empty seats and not get wet.
Tell you what, it happened yesterday. If you noticed in the second half, if you look, they're probably watching my match of the day or the TV or whatever. You're probably thinking, "Oh, they haven't sold all the tickets today." No. People just decided to migrate to the back of the stand to not get absolutely drowned.
Can't blame them, to be fair. But yeah, like I said, the start was 100 miles an hour, and it was kind of like I said, the game of basketball. Talby had a couple of half chances for us. Bournemouth had a couple of half chances. I thought they were in at times. I think there was a last ditch tackle from Ballard, and then we broke. It was kind of that sort of game. And then on 6 or 7 minutes, and I've done that for my kids, by the way, which has really annoyed me. But the Bournemouth did open the score, and Jeff, and it did seem like that it was going to be like, who's going to score first? Because it was that kind of up and down, end to end type of game. Both teams were just winning the ball. There didn't seem to be any midfield. And when it came, a ball out to the Bournemouth left, Michele slipped. Semenyo got the ball out wide, and he looked fantastic, by the way. We'll probably mention him quite a few times. Brilliant ball across the box. Roof's brilliant save, palmed it onto the post.
Which not many people noticed, actually. It was a fabulous effort to keep the first one out.
It was a Schmeichel type kind of save where he just spread himself and kind of covered the goal. But then the follow up, Adley ended up scoring, and it did seem like Alderete and Ronaldo slightly got in Roof's way a little bit. But it was a messy one to concede, but it kind of summed up the start of the game, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in those sort of conditions, of course, everybody loves it, the sliding tackles and, look how terrible it is. But then you do get mistakes, and as soon as Michele went down, you knew, this is trouble, because they did look quick on the break. They did look very, very quick, and they say, as we said, great save from Roofs to keep the first one out, but very good reaction, to keep that volley down from Adley. And but it is a mark of this team, isn't it? That how many times has that they've fallen behind at home this season and still managed to come out with it? So you still believe that if they can just galvanise themselves and get back on, especially as you said, it started actually very brightly with those two Talby efforts. I'm still not sure if he's best starting or whether he's better, bit more effective coming on, because after that. Apart from his hand in the second goal, there wasn't an awful lot. Didn't see an awful lot more of him.
Well, just while we're on the topic, Jeff, I'll just quickly go back to those two half chances, because you could say, well, the start of the game, was he kind of caught cold a little bit, because there were kind of half-hearted efforts when I thought there were decent chances.
Yeah, first one you just want him to put his foot through it, didn't you? And you thought, didn't really. And the second one. Got himself into a decent position, but I mean, it was nowhere near the goal. The curl on it wasn't enough, and and those sort of half chances, you need to put them away.
Yeah. And Gav, what did you make of the goal? Because obviously there was the slip, but then after that, we, you can say, okay, well, that's not really a mistake. These things happen, but after that, we just seemed a bit disorganised when the ball went wide.
Yeah. To be honest, it was all mainly down to that slip. I think even though there was a lot happened after it, it throws you out of kilter, doesn't it? When that sort of thing happens, when the player goes to ground, it's bloody hell. And then all of a sudden everybody's got to reorganise. Mukiele's not able to do his job, so somebody has to cover for that. To be honest, stood there in the ground, I was just looking at it going, well, it's one of them, innit? You kind of, because Mukiele had slipped, you weren't as scathing maybe as you might be in criticism of the goal. Like, bloody hell, that's happened, and that was it really. We can microanalyze it probably and say this should have been done better and that should have been done better. Fantastic save by Roofs in the build up to it, and to be honest, and again I said this on the reaction pod, I think that's the difference between the Prem and the Championship, because in the Championship, when Roofs makes that save, it probably nothing comes of it, and you're like, ooh, bloody hell, we've got away with that one. Whereas in the Premier League, the players are that good that you make one little mistake, as was shown in both goals. You make one little mistake, and you made to pay for it. I'm to be honest, even now, sat here this morning, I'm not sat here thinking this player. I'm not sort of pointing at a player and saying you should have done this better, you should have done that better. I think it was just one of them.
Okay. It seemed like Bournemouth tried to slow the game a little bit after that, but we were trying to press high. We had a little half chance when we stole possession in the final third, and Isidore was slid in, but it was cleared. But then, actually, when we were trying to press them in, we got a corner on 14 or 15 minutes, I think it was. And we decided to take it short. You think about the conditions and you think about getting it in the area, and anything can happen and anything bounce about. We decided to take a short corner between Xhaka and Talby. And then Talby sold Xhaka short with a pass. And then the tackle on Xhaka, the ball spun in the air. Good first touch by Talby, but then he sold Michele short with the second pass. And then Bournemouth broke, and with a 2v1, but he decided not to take advantage of that. He decided to lob it in from the kind of edge of the centre circle. You can maybe question Roof's positioning, but we were on the attack and he maybe wasn't expecting it, Jeff. But again, with the first goal, again, with the conditions and the type of game, it all kind of married in, didn't it, to just that sort of game where these chaotic things happen.
Everything conspires, didn't it, to set up Tyler Adams. I mean, great vision, but we shouldn't be surprised because players do that now. In my day, obviously being 100 years old, nobody ever took a shot from the halfway line. It was, what are you doing there? What a waste of time that is. You're never going to beat the keeper. But then again, keepers never came out to halfway between the penalty area and the centre circle in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and probably even the 2000s. So it is more of a thing these days. And yeah, maybe Roofs shouldn't have been so far upfield because players can do those sort of things. I think the last time I remember that was Portsmouth. Didn't Portsmouth score a goal like that?
Taylor? Was it Matty Taylor?
That's the one, Matty Taylor. In a 4-1. Was it a 4-1 defeat? Yeah. I remember being in the... I think I was a guest in the director's box that day, and my wife had to tell me to calm down because what are you doing? How can he score from there? But as I say, you do see that, and it was great. It was great execution. Again, Roofs, to be fair, he was only probably half a finger length away from getting. He did get something on it, so he wasn't that far away. But at that stage, I think you're 2 down inside quarter of an hour. You suddenly start thinking, this actually could be a very difficult afternoon because they did look sharp. We mentioned Semenyo earlier. I think we all knew he was going to come back and have a great game. Who can ever remember him? I had to go on StatCat and try and find out what. And it was the Phil Parkinson 2019-2020 season. One start and 6 sub appearances. I could not name any of those games that he played in. But yeah, you knew he was going to come back and have a half decent game.
Yeah, I think his last appearance for Sunderland, he came on for the last 10 minutes against Gillingham, and then disappeared to turn into a world superstar. But typical Sunderland. But just quickly, Jeff, just on my first point about, because 2 minutes later we get a corner actually after that, and Xhaka launches it into the box to go, well, let's put it in. Yeah, we've been so good at corners. I couldn't understand in those conditions. You've just gone a goal down, and then you take a short corner, and I just couldn't get my head around it.
Yeah, well, no, it was a strange one, but maybe occasionally I suppose they want to. The defense is going to be expecting a deep one, much like Mukiele's throws. You think he's a long one, and then he suddenly drops it in short for a bit of variety. Although, actually, on another point, is it me, or is he not throwing it as far as he has been? I mean, the ball's wet. Obviously, I get that, and it was difficult, but just the last few games, I think is he just not getting the distance? Anyway, that's another point.
I love that. I love that we've been talking for around 20 minutes, and every mistake we're just putting down to the conditions.
It was wet.
Yeah, but Gav, what did you make of it all? Because it was so messy, kind of in terms of the short corner, and Talby twice selling a player short. Maybe he wasn't used to the conditions. Maybe he hadn't kind of adjusted himself to how the pitch was and how the ball was rolling. But it was all just so messy, wasn't it? And talking about Roofs as well, he looked so kind of miffed off being put in that position where somebody could do that to him as well.
Well, it's a little bit, for a goalkeeper, it's probably a little bit embarrassing, isn't it, when you get lobbed from distance? But it wasn't on him, that goal. I think it was just, I was stood there going, how are we 2-0 down? I just didn't get it, because we'd started so well that to be 2-0 down after 15 minutes, I'm thinking, I don't get how. Yeah, it was a really open game, and we probably did leave ourselves open to be exploited. But a bit like the first goal, it was just a case, I think, that in the Premier League, the good teams punish you for mistakes. And all it was a bad pass by Talby. And it wasn't like a horrifically bad pass. It was probably he didn't put enough on it. I think, did you say it was Mukiele that he tried to play it to?
I think it was from memory.
I thought it was Traore, but
you might be right.
Either way, he tries to play this pass. There's not enough on it. and then Bournemouth just make us pay. And it was from a player who you wouldn't even expect to be able to do that. You know, Tyler Adams is a centre midfielder, doesn't score a lot of goals, yet here he is lobbing our goalkeeper from 50 yards out or whatever it is. So yeah, it was again, it was disappointing, and you can sit and microanalyze it, but actually in the ground at the time I'm standing there, to be honest, I was just thinking, can't believe we're 2-0 down. Doesn't feel like we've been that bad to be 2-0 down at this stage.
Yeah. Well, I think Sunderland being 2-0 down is probably a good place to take a quick break. So we'll be back after these few ads.
And now a message from McAfee.
Your package couldn't be delivered.
You owe thousands in unpaid tolls.
You want a free gift.
If texts like these sound familiar, McAfee can help. McAfee automatically identifies text and email scams as well as AI-generated audio to help you stay safe. If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
And welcome back to Highway the podcast. And as we've just established, Sunderland went 2-0 down. But Jeff, actually, before the break, Gav mentioned that he thought Sunderland were playing really well in those opening stages. You know, we found ourselves 2-0 down. I don't think we had much control. And from my point of view, I thought Bournemouth had that cutting edge that maybe we were lacking in those early stages. I mean, how did you feel? Did you feel Sunderland were really unfortunate to go 2-0 down?
They were in the manner of the goals, yeah, certainly. But the way that Bournemouth started, the speed of their passing and movement was just a bit sharper than Sunderland. I felt in the certainly in the first half hour, and maybe they didn't deserve to be 2-0 up. But I was sitting there thinking, I know they've pulled this back before. Maybe 2-2 is about as good as we're going to get from this one. And it did feel like Bournemouth, in the first half anyway, had another goal in them. So yeah, I was beginning to have my doubts. But as everybody around me was saying, got to get a goal back before half time. It is just so crucial, isn't it? And that really did change the whole tone of the game.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, I actually thought for the next 10 minutes, I thought Sunderland had, considering we'd gone 2-0 down, Jeff, that actually the energy levels that we showed. And again, you get this feeling about the Sunderland side, 2-0 down. And we've seen it in the past. We're just talking about old, games in the past where, we just capitulate and 4-1, 4-0 or whatever. But with this side, even though, like you said, they weren't maybe controlling the ball as well as they would have liked, or things weren't quite going their way, these things, somebody was slipping, or, a pass wasn't quite there, or they're scoring from the halfway line. We still had good energy, and you could still see that this side has belief. It doesn't matter what the situation is.
Yeah, and I'm sure Granit Xhaka has a lot to do with that. You can see him all the time talking to players and geeing them up, and he really does pull all the strings. And you can't underestimate or overestimate rather the value of that he gives to the team. And yeah, they had that shot from Isidore, had a decent effort, and you just felt if they could hang on in there and claw a goal back, for everybody's belief really, then it was going to change things. And was it a penalty? Yeah. Well, it was because it was given.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it because actually that Isidore chance very quickly. Actually, that Siddiqui was in the middle, and he had the option to square it to Siddiqui, and Siddiqui wasn't very happy. But it was 10 minutes later after Bournemouth went 2 up that the penalty was given, and I say that because it was 5 minutes later when we actually scored. It was about 5 minutes between the two things happening. But Gav, I mean, again, this is an example of us kind of just keeping the pressure on any way we can, because this came from I say a long throw in inverted commas now after Jeff's comment earlier on with Michele's throw, but it came from Michele's throw, and we had a penalty shout turned down immediately, I think, when the ball came in, and then they got it half cleared. But again, this was Enzo Lefebvre. It looked like Bournemouth were going to break. What a fantastic tackle just to keep the ball alive. Didn't necessarily aim to find a player or anything, just keep the ball, keep them penned in. And he won that, and then the ball went wide. Jeff's touched on it, Gav. Ball played into Ronaldo. And I mean, this is a guy who's played for Atletico Madrid for years and years and years. And he just, you can call it gamesmanship, you can call it the dark arts, you can call it whatever you like. I think he knew where to put his body. He knew to get in position. And don't get us wrong, I think it was a clumsy tackle, which we'll get into. But I think Ronaldo won this one.
Yeah, in my seat, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a penalty. Obviously, when you're in the ground, you don't get the benefit of multi-camera and replayers and all the rest of it. But in the moment, I thought he's made a bit of a meal of that. I don't think we're going to get this. And then the process just seemed to go on, and you're waiting. The longer you wait, you're actually expecting them to say that's not a penalty. But hey, fair play to him. He won us the penalty, and sometimes it takes that experience and that wiliness of an older player to do things like that. Because in that moment, we were 2-0 down. We needed a lifeline. We needed a way back into the game. And what's he doing in that position as well? By the way, when you see where he is, you're like, why is he left back on the right of the box? But hey, he did what he did, and I don't know. I think maybe 20 years ago that doesn't get given, but I'm not bothered. It did get given, and we made it count.
Yeah, I mean, so many times, Jeff, that Sunderland have been on the wrong end of things like this, where somebody's done a bit of gamesmanship, and we go, we fell for it again. Sunderland never seemed to, going back to the years, never seemed to be on the other side of this, and now we've got a player like Ronaldo who. But you could argue that, from a referee's point of view, even if VAR looked at it, it's still a clumsy tackle, isn't it?
It was a clumsy tackle, yeah. But you're right. It was going back. It was like in an Eric Gates type penalty. Gates, he used to win penalties when a breath of wind would knock them over. Thank goodness VAR wasn't around in the 80s. But Ronaldo, you're right. He is a wind-up merchant. Obviously, in the press box, I get to see all the action replays and the slow mos, and he does wind the opposition up a lot. But it was clever. He stretched back, and it was Scott, wasn't it, who bundled into the back of him. It was clumsy. It was a clumsy challenge. And I must admit, when I saw it from a couple of angles, I thought, nah, I'm not so sure. And then a third angle, I thought, oh no, actually, it does, bash him or bundle him over from behind. So hey, not going to turn those down, even if, as you say, it took about 5 minutes for the penalty actually to be taken after that.
Yeah. Well, just quickly on that, the 3-2 was a repeat of 1989 when we played them. It was 3-2 then, and there was a collector's item because the winning goal was an Eric Gates header.
Weren't many of them.
He scored two. He scored two in that game. But Gav, just on that, because Jeff's talked about the clumsy tackle, the nature of the tackle. Scott, a couple of minutes earlier, had that challenge on Xhaka where there was a lot of people asking for a red card. He got a yellow card on that occasion. This was just 2 or 3 minutes later when he gave the penalty away, and a challenge in the box like that, and it was a clumsy tackle, and there was a lot of people asking why wasn't that a second yellow card.
The referee was useless. He was absolutely useless. Honest. I mean, if we hadn't won this game, we'd have been talking about the ref a lot more, I think. We're stood in the stands saying the same things, Chris. We're looking at it and going, how many times has this lad got to do something that's yellow card worthy to get sent off? And the referee did him a favour. I don't know why. I don't know whether he's mates with him or something, but makes absolutely no sense. How can you make a foul that is penalty worthy? That is a bad foul, really. When you look at it, when you see it, it is a bad foul. How can you make a foul like that and not get sent off? Has the referee just looked at it and went, well, the penalty is enough of a punishment? Oh, I don't get it. I do not get it. And it wasn't just then, because right through the game, that same player, he made loads of fouls. He made loads of mistakes where you could stand there and go, well then, where's the second yellow? And the referee just wasn't giving it. I don't know whether in the referee's mind he's just thinking, I want to keep this 11v11. I want this to be an even game. But I just do not understand how that wasn't a second yellow, that foul.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, just on that, because obviously, look, if you're going to give the referee anything, it's tough to referee a game in those conditions when the players are playing on it in multiple different ways. But what did you make of that specific decision not to give that second yellow card, but in general, the referee's performance?
Well, I think Iraola said it after the game, didn't he? He just felt that it was Tim Robinson, wasn't it? The ref just especially towards the end, just completely lost control. It was impossible to keep track of all the yellow cards. 10 apparently, 5 for each team, including one for the Bournemouth coach, and of course the red card, which we'll come on to later. I must admit, I didn't think it was worth a second yellow. I was hoping it was, but I didn't think it was. It didn't really cross my mind. Although I realised the guy had just been booked a few minutes before. But the ref wasn't one of his better ones. I mean, I don't think there's been a longer game at the stadium. Was it 100 and odd minutes by the time the final whistle finally went? No, it was. But the important thing was it was a penalty, and despite having to wait so long, Enzo Lefebvre just is absolutely emotionless from the penalty spot, which is good given I think it was the 4 penalties that went before the 2 that he's put away this season.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, Gav, on the penalty, as Jeff's just said there, what a penalty! Because look, if he'd missed, we would have put it down the conditions. I'm sure we would put everything else down to that. You might have slipped or something like that. We would have said before he got to the actual ball. But brilliant penalty, because actually the goalkeeper went the right way, and he went. If you look from behind the goal, he went to go to the goalkeeper's left, or kind of he went to make it look like he was going to go to the goalkeeper's left, but then kind of hooked it to the right. Goalkeeper went the right way, but I mean, he couldn't have put it anywhere better in terms of kind of high almost in the roof of the net, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's one of them where you would show kids and go, "This is how you take a penalty." None of this dinking at either side of the goalkeeper or doing a Panenka. This is how you hit the ball. It was a really well struck penalty, and I've got to be honest. I was stood there. I'm quite a nervous person in them moments, anyways, and I'm like, oh no, because we've been so poor on penalties over the last few years. I was stood there and I was looking through my fingers and thinking, I wish Granit Xhaka was taking this and all that. And that's not really fair on the fair, because he absolutely levered it. And you could have had 3 goalkeepers in that Bournemouth goal. They wouldn't have stopped it. It was textbook. It was brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. Just quickly on two things, Jeff. Enzo Lefebvre moving into that central position. I've enjoyed watching him play down that left-hand side, especially with Ronaldo. He was moved into the middle, but I think there's been a question mark about him playing in that role just behind the striker, and can he do it? Because every time he's done it, he's flattered to deceive a little bit, and he's looked more dangerous on that left-hand side. But I thought he was potentially one of Sunderland's better players in the 90 minutes. Or 100 and odd minutes or whatever.
I don't know if you saw the programme at all yesterday, but the special feature was on him, and they're doing A to Z. And for the letter X, it's X Factor. Do you have a hidden talent? And he says, "I'm a magician." And he said, "Well, I wouldn't argue with you there, mate. You obviously are. He is very talented and very for a guy who's not the biggest." As you said, the tackle that led to the penalty. He doesn't mind getting stuck in as well. No, it's great to see the way that he's adapted, as we knew he would. That he'd step up to this level, because that he is this level, even though he was around last season. And yeah, I think everyone just wants to see him on the ball as much as possible, so moving him slightly further in, even though it means on the left. I'm not sure Talby is the answer. But yeah, it's just another thing that Regis has got to deal with. But the more we can get him on the ball, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the game kind of went back to that kind of backwards and forwards, end to end thing, but it was a little bit slow. I think Bournemouth tried to slow the pace down when we got back into the game, and it went into half time being 2-1 down. But I kind of don't really want to don't pick up on this a little bit, but we've given him so much praise, and I think he's been unbelievable. But I would say at half time, I was thinking it was potentially Xhaka's worst performance on the ball, Gav.
Yeah, I'm humming and hawing there. I don't know. Maybe, but that's maybe because he set his standard so high and he's been so good. Yeah, maybe to that point, but he did recover, didn't he? He had a really, really good second period. But maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I haven't had a chance to really sit and think about it, but he was probably like the rest of the players. He was probably suffering a little bit from the conditions. I just think the ball didn't run as well as it normally does, and Xhaka likes to be on a pitch which is the ball zipping about, and it's he plays a pass and he knows it's going to get the feet. You could even say with the second goal we conceded that was maybe true, because the way the ball seemed to just slow down and it caught us on the hop. It doesn't suit players like Xhaka, because Xhaka is a really, really good footballer. So yeah, possibly you're right. Possibly it wasn't his finest sort of outing for us. But I think the important thing from his perspective was he improved. The whole team improved, but he kind of led that improvement.
Well, yeah, that was kind of my point in one sense, that first half performance with Xhaka slightly being off his usual self. And look, don't get us wrong, it was maybe his worst 45 minutes on the ball, Gav, but he's probably still head and shoulders above quite a few players on the pitch, because that's the level he's at. But in that first half, because Xhaka was maybe off his usual self, it shows the impact he has on us, because we ended up being a little bit chaotic because he didn't have that calming influence while he was in possession.
Yeah, you're right. And because he's such a leader, because the rest of the team look to him for inspiration, if he's not on it, then it probably does have that knock-on effect to the rest of them. But yeah, I think the game, just to come back to it, the important thing is he reacts well, and because there's been other times in games. I mean, what was the game when he almost conceded us a late goal? Was it Arsenal when he played that really poor pass short? Like he is human. Sometimes it might feel like he's not human, but Granit Xhaka is human and he makes mistakes. And look, I think that type of player, when they're so good at what they do, it's because they pick their moments. And I mean, there was a lovely. We'll get onto it for our second goal, but it was a lovely pass from him, which I just don't think any other player on the pitch in a Sunderland shirt is capable of. Yeah. And sometimes when you try and things like that, it makes you look silly when they don't come off.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, because we did come flying out the blocks in that second half, Jeff. Basically came straight out a minute into the second half. As Gav said, on our right hand side, Lefebvre, Traore, and Xhaka had a triangle going, and brilliant disguised pass by Xhaka, as Gav's touched on. But Traore, he seems to be getting better and better and better in terms of when he's actually in possession of the ball. I think he's match fitness. That's the question mark. Where can he play? I don't think he's played 90 minutes yet, and it always seems to be the hour mark. He knows his number's going to come up and he's going to be substituted. But if he can produce moments like this, where it seemed like, right, is he going to cross it? Is he going to pass it? Is he going to come back? But he was positive, cut inside and took the shot at the goalkeeper's near post.
Yeah, I was starting to get a bit frustrated with him in the first half, because he did see a lot of the ball and there wasn't an awful lot of end product. And at halftime, you're thinking, I wonder if for a bit. No, Reggie, he never makes a change at halftime. Rashid, does he? He's always got to be the hour mark before there's any change. And it was interesting, that move, because there were at least a couple of times where the crowd were howling for the ball to be knocked into the middle, or for Xhaka to have a shot. But they were very patient the way they kept building it. Xhaka, by the way, and at the worst, I think least best first half is what we should say, rather than I don't think he does worst. But it was a magnificent, because you thought he's either going to hit this or he's going to knock it to the far post, and it was such an unexpected cutback. For I think it's his 4th assist already this season. I don't think the keeper should probably have been beaten at the near post. I think it did go through a defender's legs, but fair play to Traore. If you don't have a shot, you're not going to score. And it was perfectly placed just inside the corner. And I think Gav talked earlier about Bournemouth second half seemed to lose it. That just seemed to completely take the air out of them, because from 2-0 up in quarter of an hour with those sort of goals, they must have been thinking, we've got this won. And then suddenly you've got almost the entire second half, and you think, we're back to where we started now. And you could see that although they still did look dangerous, occasionally coming forward. I think you knew from that moment that, at the very least, it would be a point.
Yeah. And that's why you were at the top of your game for so many years, Jeff, because you put that Xhaka first half performance much better than I did. But Gav, just on the goal, like you touched on it with Xhaka's brilliant disguise pass, brilliantly worked on that side. But again, Traore, brilliant finish. But as Jeff touched on, the timing of the goal, I mean, it couldn't have been any better that we put pressure on them, getting back into the game, and you could almost feel their heads slightly drop in that moment. But again, it's nice that Traore's got off the mark and got that goal, and that he's looking like he's positive in those situations.
Yeah, you say the timing was good, but it wasn't for those of us who were finishing that pint at half time and might not have been in the seat to watch the goal go in. I did see it though. I actually made a conscious decision. I said to my mates, "No, let's stay here," because they had the telly on still, which they never normally do at half time. They went, let's just stay here. I think we're going to score. I actually said that. It's happened to us a few times this season already where I've been caught out. But no, look, it was a really quality goal in the sense that you're not going to get like goal of the month for that goal. But if you watch how good the movement and the setup was from a set piece perspective, I think it was really good. And it shows the quality of some of the players we've got. I thought Granit Xhaka had a really big role in it, and the pass that he played was fantastic. And when I watched the highlights back this morning, the commentator actually made a point to point that out. He was like, that was a fantastic disguised pass from Granit Xhaka. I don't think we've got another player who can do that. Honestly, I think we've got some really good players, but when you talk about him being a world-class footballer, that is the type of thing he can do that really separates him from some of the others. And Traore, to be honest, I've been saying on this pod for weeks and weeks, Chris, I think he's been threatening a goal. I think he's come close. I thought he was probably our most dangerous player at Fulham, but that obviously wasn't saying much. We weren't particularly threatening at all in that game, but he was the one player who I felt if we were going to get something, it might be him, because he was taking shots on, he was having a bit of a go. And I think that must have been a directive at half-time from the manager to say, like, if you get within 20 yards of that goal, just have a shot, because we weren't doing it in the first half. And Traore, to be fair to him, he kind of, I agree to a degree with what Jeff's saying. I think the goalkeeper's probably going to be looking back at that and a bit disappointed in himself for allowing Sunderland that opportunity. But Traore takes the shot on and almost uses the goalkeeper, the defender as a blocker for the goalkeeper. He gets that shot away, and I think it just delays the goalkeeper's reaction slightly because there's a player in the way. But it wasn't like it was thundered into the back of the net. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of purchase on it, but Traore did really, really well to get the shot away. And I think, I think he's been threatening that goal. And we keep talking about his record over his career, Chris, about when you look at Bertrand Traore and you look at all the teams he's played for some fantastic clubs down the years in his career. He's scored goals everywhere. Everywhere he's played, he's scored goals. And that almost gives you that reassurance. At some point, if you persist with him, he will find the back of the net. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. I think it's been coming, and ultimately, you've got to say well done to Reggie Slibris for sticking with him, because I think actually Traore he's probably taken a bit more criticism than has been warranted from some people, maybe because he is that type of player who tries to do something out of nothing, and when it doesn't come off, he looks a bit daft. There's been times where he's took shots on and you're like, freaking hell, he should have passed it in that situation or whatever. But again, it's credit to the manager that he's stuck with him. This is his 6th game in a row, I think, that he started. And he gets a goal, and again, yeah, warrants that selection.
Yeah, or 6th hour he started, because he only ever seems to play around. But before we get into how it all played out, and with Gav's voice on its last legs, I think we should take another quick break. We'll be back after these couple lads.
Grabbing the holidays by the boughs with Duluth. Step 1. Hire a mall Santa to handle snow removal.
Ho, ho, ho! My sciatica!
Step 2. Hit Duluth Trading and load up on fire hose pants, buck naked underwear, pocket pack bibs, free swinging flannel, and all kinds of ingenious gear you won't find anywhere else. Grab the holidays by the boughs and shop Duluth Trading, online and in store.
Every leap in American history has needed breakthrough energy.
Ignition, liftoff.
Now, AI is here, and Chevron is working to power it. We're aiming to develop multi-gigawatt power plants near data centers, designed with future pathways to lower carbon intensity. AI gets the power it needs, communities get the jobs, and the grid stays strong. Powering AI today builds America's next superpower.
Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
And welcome back to How We're the podcast. And it's 2-2 now in the game. And but a minute later, Jeff, we got away with one. Because, again, another sign, and we've got to keep saying it, I think. I don't think we've maybe said it enough, but this is a really good Bournemouth side. And at times it felt like when they went forward, they could carve us open, basically, with getting it out to Semenyo, and he was doing his thing, and it was all stemming from him. But, he must be absolutely fuming this morning and after the game and the thing, because the work he did, and it was fractions whether it was going to go in or hit the post or go past the post. But Ivan Nielsen, standing in an offside position, tapped it in.
Yeah, crazy. Yes, yeah, I think that will have been mentioned in the Bournemouth dressing room. I'm sure. I think it was already got a slight touch that deflected it further. It's impossible to know, but the fact is, if he hadn't touched it, it would have either hit the post and gone in or missed, and still, So, but the fact that Ivan Nielsen put a toe on it was just, I'm afraid, a bit well, from a Bournemouth point of view, a bit brainless. Just interestingly on Bournemouth, we said how good they are. It is amazing that for a lot of us who've been around for a lot of years, Bournemouth, what are they doing up here? I think the first game that I covered down at Dean Court, I'm pretty sure it was an FA Cup tie with Newcastle, and Bournemouth were I'm guessing in the old Division 3, and there was a bucket collection before the game, and I think it was to buy them a new striker, and you said, wow, what are they doing? But they deserve it. They play some great football. They've got some really, really exciting players. Semenyo among them, and we've already touched on him. And it was that was a turning point as well, because I think again you suddenly thought, this is turning our way, this game. When things like that go for you straight after, because as everybody says, when you're most vulnerable when you've just scored a goal, and it did suddenly seem for that split second you thought, no. Just got it back to 2-2, and now they've got to do it all over again. But it did seem to galvanise everyone, including the crowd, to think, right, come on, we've got a job to finish off here.
Just to emphasise your point, Jeff, it took us well over 100 years to play Bournemouth for the very first time, and I'm just going to put you on the spot because you might have covered it. Can you remember the first ever game in in any competition between the two sides?
Was it the first game of the season at Roker Park in about 88? Was it 80?
It was. Whoa,
Yes,
what memory that is. Yeah.
I did cover that one because I can remember sitting in the press box there and thinking, what are we doing playing Bournemouth? Yeah, I did 1-1. And who scored? Oh dear, Gary Bennett.
He did, yes. Sean Close opened the scoring for them, and we went behind. Opening day of the season when we got promoted back to Division 2.
Yes.
That was the very first time, so it took till 1988 in any competition to play ball. We've only played them 10 times in our entire, or 11 after yesterday's game in our entire history, which is crazy. But Gav, I mean, the game after that, I thought Bournemouth actually put us under a little bit of pressure after that, and I thought the game swung. I thought the momentum was with them for a little bit. But just after the hour, Regis Labris made a triple substitution. Now, I thought this was really interesting. I was kind of surprised to see Trey Hume, three attackers come off, Talby, Traore and Isidore. Hume, Broby and Mundle came on. We'll come into Mundle in a minute, but Trey Hume came on, and then there was essentially him and Michele doubling up on Semenyo, because I think at that point he knew how dangerous he was. If you subdued him, I think you had Bournemouth kind of where you wanted him, and Trey Hume and Michele, that was their job really, wasn't it, on that side?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, you can sit here and go, that was absolute genius. But if it didn't go our way, you might have been questioning it a little bit. But I stood at the game. I was praising the manager for his thought on this, because not only did it make sense in terms of dealing with Semenyo, because he was their clearly their most threatened player, and they were. It got to a point actually with Bournemouth, and this is probably a criticism actually, but it got to a point where everything was just going through him. It was like, all right, just give it to Antoine Semenyo, and they became a little bit predictable, and that actually made the change easy to make, because then Labris was like, well, all they're doing is giving it to Semenyo, so let's get another lad out there and double up on him. But from an attacking perspective for Sunderland, Hume was, we know, and this isn't the first time I've said this, so I'm not going to claim this is some sort of genius thought that just came in my head, but Trey Hume reminds me on the ball a little bit of Nicky Summerby, in that he will not take people on. He will cross from deep, and his crossing's really, really good. And Summerby used to be a bit like that. And, again, I've mentioned this a few times in the past, but I think this was really important in that moment, because he went onto the wing effectively. And when the ball got out to Trey Hume, we had to try and hit Broby with the ball. And if you'd had a typical winger out there, Traore even, and Traore has had a really good game, but Traore will take the ball up the line. He will be patient. If there's a 1-2 on, he'll play it with somebody. If not, he'll try and dance around them, which he did pretty well during the game 2 or 3 times, what I remember. Hume will probably just get 5 or 6 yards over the halfway line and then whip the ball in. And it's actually, if you look through the goals we've scored at home this season in particular, Trey Hume has had quite a big effect in games. I think of the it was the Broby goal against Arsenal when Hume put the ball over. Similar kind of thing. He doesn't wait to get right down the line to whip it in. He will just cross the ball, and it just made sense with the players that we had on the pitch, because then when Hume was getting the ball at right wing, he was playing it really early, and it was effective for Broby, because then he could hold it up. He was holding off the defence and stuff like that. So it was genius. It was genuinely genius. One, because it came off, but two, in motion, I could actually, I'm standing there and I can understand the thinking behind bringing him on. So yeah, I think that was an uncharacteristic but great call from our coach. And again, it shows why he's one of the best in the business, and why so many people rave about Regis Labris, because it was genuinely game changing, that substitution.
Yeah, and it was, and it's always this thing, Jeff, isn't it? You've probably covered umpteen games where they've made a change and it hasn't come off, and they go, "Oh, it's the manager's fault," and then it comes off, and they're an absolute genius. It's a fine line for managers to kind of tread, but in this case, treble substitution, and Gav's right, it is change the game. But that was an interesting one with Trey Hume. But the other one, you've got you've got Mayenda on the bench who's got some pace and has been waiting around on the thing. Mundle comes straight back on the bench, and after an hour gone, there's half an hour. Mundle gets straight on, which shows how highly the manager rates him.
Yeah, I was really pleased to see Romain Mundle getting his chance. It was because another one you think has the ability to step up into this level. Interesting listening to Régis Labri's post match, and he made reference to the fact that it sounded like the club almost felt like they owed Mundle something, because he maybe shouldn't have played in the playoff semi-final and the playoff final, but he played through the pain, and because of that, it then had to go on and needed an operation, and it set him back this season. So I think they did. The club felt they owed him the chance. Having said that, I don't think Régis would have played him if he didn't think it was it was something worth doing, and he wouldn't be able to hold it at this level. So yeah, I was really pleased for the lad himself to see him given the opportunity, and certainly there was nothing he did that made you think he was out of his depth. He did think he will be able to step up to this level. Hume, of course, got booked within about a minute coming on, and you're thinking, no, the way this ref's going, can't afford to lose anyone. But yeah, and Broby as well, who I don't know, is he sitting there thinking, why am I not being given my chance to start a game? But certainly seems incredibly effective, just because he's so different to Wilson coming on for the last half hour. I mean, Régis again referred to them as his finishers, which is exactly what they are. They don't just come on to give someone a break or to make up the numbers. They come on to give the team extra momentum, a different dimension, and to finish off the game, which is what they've been doing.
Yeah, I have to admit, with this referee, I was relieved to see a yellow for Trey Hume's tackle. I have to be completely honest. But it was only 5 minutes after the subs, Gav. And again, it paid off. We're talking about genius, and he's the payoff. And it was Mundle who was like putting them under pressure when we won that corner. He kind of really pinned them in that corner. We got a corner, and I felt like this one, Enzo Lefebvre stood up, and it almost felt like the setup. You almost looked at it and went, "Hang on, this is the Coventry corner." That you could see people standing up. You could see, it was kind of dark and all that sort of stuff. But the brilliant thing with this, I think people are so consumed with Dan Ballard at the minute. You watch Dan Ballard take a run. There was a crowd of Bournemouth players went with him.
Yeah.
And Broby came into that space where Lefebvre, and it was pretty much exactly the same area where he put that cross against Coventry. And Broby came into that space. But I tell you what, he still had a lot to do. It was slightly behind him, and what a header to direct it into the corner.
Yeah, it was. So in the build-up to the corner being taken, obviously there was a foul on Ballard, which I think if VAR watches that, there's a hint of a penalty decision there, because he gets ragged all over. He gets dragged all. I know he gives as much as he gets at times, but he gets the level of concentration he provides to these players when we get a set piece. It's just like, right, where's Dan Ballard? And he gets dragged all over the place. And honestly, it irritates me. We were talking about this after the game. It irritates me that the referee just doesn't allow the corner to be taken and then give a penalty. Because how often do you see it where one of our players gets fouled in the build-up to a corner being taken, and rather than wait for the ball to be kicked, the ref just blows the whistle, which means it's not in play, which means it's not a penalty, and he'll just tell them off and go, right, sort this out. Ballard gets absolutely dragged all over the place. But you're right, because of that, they were so focused on Ballard, and there's almost a foul on him. The referee then goes in and he tells them to sort it out or whatever, and it's Ballard who's being fouled, and then the crowd start cheering Ballard's name, and it's almost like this is his moment here. This is Dan Ballard's chance to shine. But it took the focus completely off everybody else in the box, and Broby's there to do what he does, and it's a really good header. Actually, you don't I'm in the southwest corner, obviously, so it was a little bit difficult to kind of. I just saw the ball hit the back of the net. I didn't really have a chance to process it fully. But when I've seen the replay back this morning, it's a really, really good striker's finish, actually. And again, we might get onto this, but it's funny because he comes on in, what was it, the 50 odd minutes or whatever it was. He looked wrecked. He looked wrecked after about 70 or 80 minutes, which maybe explains why he's not starting games. But if he can be effective in the way he's been, then great. And as I'm sat here right now, I'm just looking at the back of my leg, and I have a gash from my ankle all the way up to the top of my calf because of that goal. Because it was just a sea of bodies everywhere. There was just piles of bodies everywhere when we scored that goal. But importantly, I turned to my mate and went, "We're going to score here." I just had a feeling. We were going to score. And I'm not taking credit for the goal, of course, but it's that belief which these players have given us over the season. We get in them situations. It's twos each. We've got a set piece, and you're confident. And the players must feel that same confidence. They must think, yeah, we've got a set piece here. We're going to make them pay. Really, really satisfying goal from that respect. Because there's nothing worse than getting corner after corner after corner and not being able to put the ball in the back of the net, and it just gets really frustrating. We get in these situations, and I think teams panic a little bit. I don't think Bournemouth knew what to do.
Yeah, well, there's two things from that. I need next week's lottery numbers, and if you do get a feeling like this, you need to send us a message so I can stick a quick bet on it. But Jeff, this goal, the replay, when I watched the replay back, I have to admit I was chuckling a little bit because actually I think it was Lewis Cook who was trying to mark Broby, but he didn't look at the ball whatsoever. He just tried to get hold of Broby and move him. And Broby just planted his feet and he just couldn't move him. And Broby stood in the same position, waited. And there was a good, I reckon, a second or two where Cook was trying to move Broby out of that area and he just couldn't. And Broby just stood his ground, headed it, and like we've been saying, perfectly directed into the corner. But he's getting those type of goals, isn't he? You look at the Arsenal one, right place at the right time, knows where the goal is, and the same again against Bournemouth.
It's the strength, isn't it? It's the body strength. I mean, he barely got off the ground, really, but it didn't need to because Cook's feet were on the deck completely, even just wrestling him. But you're never going to wrestle. I mean, it was a catchweight contest, wasn't it? He was never going to be able to get him off the ball. It was just very cleverly. It was a simple goal, wasn't it? He just directed it back from where it came, and as you said, with the Arsenal goal. He was having his shirt pulled. He was horizontal, and he still managed to get a toe to it. So he's got great strength, and it's as I said, it's something different to Wilson, is it all? And it gives defenders maybe when they're thinking, right, we've had an hour of this guy, we know how to cope with him. And then suddenly Broby comes on. I mean, look at the way he held up the ball for the winner at Chelsea as well for about 5 seconds. He's just got great. Upper body strength, and especially towards the end of games when defenses are tiring a bit, that's the perfect time for him. Having said that, there was still 20 minutes to go. That turned out to be nearly half an hour to go. So it was still a lot of work to do in terrible conditions with a ref who just towards the end of the game just seemed to lose it completely, and the cards were flying out everywhere.
Yeah, well, look, it did go scrappy for a long period after that. 5 minutes to go in normal time, if you like. Bournemouth hit the bar with a cracking left foot strike. Great strike. I mean, if that had gone in the top corner, we probably would have held our hands up and went fair play. That was a strike to deserve a point, but we got away with that one. And the defensive substitution from the manager when Gatrada came on for Lafayette with a few minutes again of normal time to go. Then there was 8 minutes of injury time, and this injury time, look, dare I say it, Gav, because we talked about Sunderland, the Ronaldo thing earlier on in the penalty. Again, there hasn't been many periods in my lifetime where Sunderland have been on this side of, let's say, gamesmanship, or let's just call a spade, shithousery, if you like. But injury time, we played the game, didn't we? We played that side of it.
It was mint. It was class. I absolutely loved that. It become almost like farcical in that moment when their player got sent off, because there was there's one body flying, then there's another body flying, then there's another body flying, and it was like, if you're on the other end of that, you get really pissed off and frustrated. But when it's your team doing it, you love it. You absolutely love it. And I actually think And there might be a deeper issue here, but I think Bournemouth lost their heads completely, and it stemmed from the manager. If you watch their manager, you might not have seen this, Chris, on the TV coverage necessarily, but Jeff, you'll have seen this. How irritable was he? He was never on his. You watch. I think because Regis Labris is such a calm bloke. I genuinely think you could be slaughtering his players in front of him, and he would still stand there with his arms crossed. He'd just be like this, There could be a swordsman, taking his team to bits, and he'd just, he'd stand there with his arms folded. He's not overly emotive at all. It takes a lot for Regis Labris to get going, but their manager is. It was a bit like this when Arteta the other week with Arsenal, just constantly flying out of his technical area, screaming at the linesman, screaming at the fourth official. I think it has an effect on his players, because he was doing that, his players were doing that, and they lost their heads, totally lost their heads in injury time. And it was a chunk, as you said, Chris, it was a chunky old injury time period. There was, what was it? It must have been 10, 11 minutes in the end. I think they gave 8, but
it was originally 8, and then after the sending off, they put another 3 on, so it was 11 in total.
So there was a massive period of time there where Bournemouth could have got back in the game, and for the majority of it, they weren't focused. They were completely focused on the wrong things, and I think it played into our hands, to be honest. But then you see as well, it wasn't just a case of Sunderland diving around and wasting time. The elbow on Siddiqui it was shocking, to be honest. He does it on purpose, and in these days when you've got VAR and things like that, why would you even do that? I think it shows you how much of it was just complete head loss. That their player would swing an elbow at somebody, knowing he's on camera, knowing he's being seen. I think it kind of summed up the way Bournemouth managed out there in the final 10 minutes. And considering people keep talking about Sunderland being a young team and relatively inexperienced, we've only really got Xhaka and maybe one or two others who have got Premier League experience. That was a really experienced end to the game from us. We managed it out, and you're right, Chris. The amount of times over the years where other teams have done that to us, and you get pissed off, and you're like, I wish we would do that. I wish we would I wish we'd be the shithouses on this occasion. It was lovely to watch. Honestly, I get as much satisfaction from that as I do from other, great football and things like that, because the crowd get up for it, don't they? They love it, and it was, I loved it.
I think part of Cook's frustration was the fact that the free kick had gone Xhaka's way, because I must admit my first instinct was, that's a Bournemouth free kick. He's leaning into him, but it went the other way, and I think it was just an instant reaction as Siddiqui's running past. He just decided to stick up the elbow. I mean, I didn't spot it straight away. It was and initially you have to look at the replay saying, why is he being red carded? And the other thing that gave me great satisfaction was the fact that their keeper was time wasting from midway through the first half, and he thought, this is like going back to League One, where teams just want to leave the Stadium of Light with something. So I love it when that sort of thing happens. That they think back to just how much they were time wasting in the first half, and then it comes back to bite them. It was. I don't think anybody had any clue how long the game was going to last, including the ref. So it was it was a relief to, and it was just a great feeling to hear that final whistle.
Yeah, an insight into your personalities, gents, that you absolutely love the shit housery. But Jeff, I mean, actually, Gav made a really good point that because we did that, and this isn't something that Regis Labris will say, this is how we play our games. This is purely the characters we've got in this team, and that they know they've been in these situations. They know how to play them out. They know how to win games. And Gav was absolutely right, Jeff, in the fact that we took the attention from Bournemouth in terms of their minds, that they were so focused on the things we were doing and the antics that we were coming up with, that they completely forgot. They didn't have any chances in those late stages in injury time, because we took their attention away from trying to get back into the game.
Yeah, as soon as you see the 8 goal, because I was thinking, I think I turned to the guy who was next to me, and I'm saying, what do you think, 4 or 5? And normally, you're in the ballpark. When it came up 8, immediately everyone thinks, oh no, 8 minutes, and you start panicking again and crossing everything. But you're right, in those sort of 8 or even 11 minutes added time, I'm sure the ball pinged around the box a few times, which is bound to be, because they're going to be trying to get get back any way they can. But there were no clear cut chances at all. It was a really really clever way to play out the game, because you've got people like Xhaka who have got that experience and know this is how you do it. This is how you run down the clock.
Yeah, and like we said, Gav, to sum it up, we got the 3 points, but it was important because we'd gone 3 without a win. Poor performance against Fulham, and we went 2-0 down after 15 minutes. This could have gone, with the 3 games we've got coming up, this could have gone horribly wrong. And because we've come out on the other side of it, we're now going to those games with confidence. But the feeling when we went 2-0 down, I thought, God, actually 4 games. Where's the momentum going? And now it's completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a mark of how special this team is that they're able to come from 2-0 down against. Bournemouth are one of the best teams in the league, and we came from 2-0 down to get 3 goals. And you were, at the start there, you were kind of racking your brains to think of how many times that's actually happened over the years. Swansea last season, when we were 2-0 down away from home, Job, Dan Neil scored. I can't remember who got the other one, maybe Rig. But honestly, other than that, I'm struggling. West Brom under Reedy, maybe. I don't know if we were 2-0 down, but I remember winning 3-2 away, and I was at that game. But the point being is, this isn't a typical thing that happens in football. It's not often that a team will come from 2-0 down to win 3-2. And it's a mark of the character of this squad. They're an unbelievable squad. They've got so much self-belief. Granit Xhaka is obviously the leader of that group, but he's not the only one. But he sets the tone. He at 2-0 down will have been saying to the lads, get your heads up. We're getting back into this. He was part of a Bayer Leverkusen team that routinely were getting beat and would find ways to not get beat. They went unbeaten for a full season. And I can remember that season, Bayer Leverkusen. I remember watching the scores and things and saying, they're getting beat. And then all of a sudden they would score 2 late goals. And this is the guy who was at the centre of that. So it should come to no surprise to anybody that Sunderland have got those characteristics of a team who just don't give up. Because the guy who is our captain, he doesn't know when to give up. And the rest of the players feed off that energy. I think we will stand back after this game, maybe in a month or two, and we'll talk about this as being the most important win of the season in terms of what that says about us as a team and how we recover and things. Because you're right, it could have been a really negative experience. Fulham was poor last week. I thought the draws against Everton and Arsenal were brilliant results in the context of the games, because we had a terrible, probably 40 minutes against Everton and recovered. Arsenal being the best team in the land and seemingly unbreakable at the back, finding a way to score 2 goals against them. They were great results, but when you sit down and look at it on paper, we hadn't won a game in 4. And then if we don't win this one, you're sitting there and you're going, we haven't won a game in 5. And then you've got to play Liverpool away and Man City away and then Newcastle. And then the negativity starts to creep in. It was such an important result for that reason. That we've come away and won this, and won it in the manner we have, just sends a little reminder out, doesn't it? We're playing Liverpool on Wednesday and they're going to be like, I'd rather not be playing Sunderland at the minute. And isn't that a fantastic thing to say? that the current champions of the Premier League might actually be looking at us and thinking, I would rather we weren't playing these at the minute.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, Jeff? 3 points, because you could think, as we've just touched on that, Liverpool, Manchester City, then you're 6 without a win going into the derby. Then there's pressure on the derby. If you don't win the derby, then the pressure starts building up. But this 3 points just kind of just deflates all of that, doesn't it?
I think we knew, didn't we? This was going to start be the tasty time of the season when it got into the end of November into December. It was when the fixtures first came out, and yet when was the last time Sunderland went to Anfield actually ahead of Liverpool? That
wow,
it's got to be a few years yet.
Berserk, Jeff, innit? You're saying that, and I'm just like, it's the 30th of November as we recall this. Tomorrow is the 1st of December, and Sunderland are 4th in the Premier League, and we're ahead of the champions from last season.
Yeah,
like you got to pinch yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, as I keep saying to me, you could just enjoy it. Just keep enjoying it. Don't look too far ahead. And enjoy every game. Enjoy it while it lasts. If it lasts all the way up to the end of the season, then and we're still up there, then great. But yeah, you just got to enjoy occasions like this. I came away yesterday just thinking, why does football make me feel so good? It can also make you feel so bad.
Yeah.
But
that's probably why it makes you feel good, though, Jeff.
Yeah,
because you've had the same experience as every other Sunderland fan. In that, for the majority of your time as a Sunderland fan, we've been awful. So I can go to the game now, and like it's such a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and looking at Gav's eyes when we started this call, I couldn't decide whether he felt good or bad about it all. But I think that's a perfect place to leave it because, Jeff, we kept you far longer than intended. When you started, dawn was breaking through your window. You were in a dark room, and now the sun's shining.
Sun's always shining after a 3-2 win.
But thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate your time as always.
Pleasure. Cheers, mate.
Brilliant, good stuff. And thanks again, Gav. Thanks. Your voice held up, mate. Well done.
It actually improved as we went on. You had a little stab at it around the time of the break, and I was thinking to myself, I thought my voice is getting better here. So I started getting self-conscious there. But no, I could probably record another podcast now, Chris, if you want to. We'll talk about that all over again. Eh?
That's what people with hangovers always think until the second trough. But no, thanks very much, Gav. Always a pleasure, mate.
No worries, mate. Thanks.
And good stuff. And thanks again for everyone for listening. Don't forget, we'll have loads on the Roker Report website and as well as our daily releases on How We're the Podcast, because as we mentioned, the games are going to be coming thick and fast. Liverpool in midweek and then Manchester City at the end. And then we've got the small matter of another game a week later, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the coming 10 days or whatever. But thanks again for listening, everyone. From us, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.